Okay, so before I start rambling, I just want to mention the fact that the topic of this video is based on an article that is about a month old. So even if this is kind of old news, I still wanted to express my opinions on the changes to the side quests in Deus Ex Mankind Divided. So here we go. Recently, during an interview with GamesRadar, Eidos Montreal shed some light on the way side quests will work in their upcoming cyberpunk RPG. When we think of side quests, we think of little stories and missions outside of the main storyline. We've seen all kinds of various missions and activities throughout the years in video games, and mostly they are things that drag you away from your main mission, or rather your main path, to extend the life of the game, and sometimes just act as filler to give you more content. In Mankind Divided, they aim to change that. In the previous Deus Ex game, Human Revolution, there was a whole lot of side missions to venture on, and mostly they work like side quests usually does. Someone gives you a request for whatever they want you to do, and you then proceed to accept or decline. If accepted, you'll go and carry out said request, and then you'll return for your reward. This is the way most games have handled side quests, and questing in general, for a long time. But supposedly, Eidos Montreal rather dislikes this concept and wants to mix things up a bit. I hate side quests and side missions as a term, because I love them so much in gameplay and I feel it belittles what they actually are, says gameplay director Patrick Fortier. What he means by that is that side quests shouldn't simply be mundane tasks that drag our hero off the main path for a bit, but rather an extension to the main story of the game. We then got an example of what Fortier really meant. Narrative director Mary DeMarle gave us the following statement. Adam Jensen is on a very important mission, so anything that's going to pull him away from that mission needs to have weight. It has to be something so important that I personally want to pull him aside, or something that will reflect the themes of the game in a different way, or maybe shed light on some of the factions in the game that you can't get from the critical path. So basically, what they're saying is that the side quests in the game will tie into the main story in a way that they haven't really done before. There'll be things that happen somewhat spontaneously and sudden, rather than someone just approaching you with a request, and can supposedly change the entire outcome of the game's story, depending on what you've chosen to do or not. A scenario we got as an example was that Jensen was out on a main mission, and all of a sudden an optional objective shows up and asks you to go save an undercover agent currently engaged in a gunfight. Based on whether you choose to help him or not, he will either live or die. When the main mission is over, we get reactions from our fellow agents based on the decision we made. This will most likely have some kind of consequences later on, and the story will adjust accordingly. But Fortier made sure to mention that there's always a chance that an optional objective really won't yield a reward at all. That there's always a chance that something you stumble across might just be a little distraction, which is where your decision comes into play. You have to consider, do I really want to engage these enemies in combat, when I might end up none the wiser nor none the richer. But yeah. What they're saying here is pretty much that basically every side quest in the game is closely tied to the main story in some way or the other, but it's up to you to choose what things to do. So what I'm getting from this is that the idea is simply a further developed version of the side quest system in Human Revolution, which I really like the sound of. But what kind of worries me is that Fortier also said players might not even feel like they're on a side quest, it's going to feel like they're on the main quest. But then I have to ask, if everything will feel like it's part of the main quest, then what is even the point with side quests? Why even call them side quests? Just make them a part of the main story anyway, like, why? But sure, I get the idea, and I get that they want to create a living, breathing world that seems believable, instead of throwing in a bunch of side activities acting as nothing but fillers. And that they want to expand on the idea that Deus Ex is truly your own experience, in which you can make your own choices and experience the game any way you want. So in a lot of ways, this idea just makes a lot of sense when you think about what game we're actually talking about here. And I mean, the fact that side questing will be more smoothly implemented and feel less like an actual questing system will not only give the game a better pacing, but will also make the game more immersive, which is great for people like me who love to just dive into a game headfirst. Overall, I think the way they want to implement side quests sounds really cool, but it's up to Eidos to actually deliver on these promises. Only time will tell. Luckily, it's not all that long until we can actually get the game in our own hands, so be sure to subscribe to the channel if you want more coverage on Mankind Divided. I surely will have a bunch of stuff to talk about once the game is actually out. Anyway, those are the changes coming to side quests in Deus Ex Mankind Divided. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time.